What is the structure and what are the details around Jim Ratcliffe's takeover offer for Manchester United? That's what we all want answers for as United fans. And the Financial Times has released a report this afternoon, which gives us a little bit of insight. Will we be seeing Joel Glazer on the board for the footballing operations? And what does that mean? How central a role will Dave Brailsford be having? What about investment outside of Jim Ratcliffe's 25%? Plans all discussed inside this article. I'm going to run through it. You let me know what you think in the comments below. But this is the article at hand here, and it's from the Financial Times. I'm going to run through each key point that they raise, and we can discuss it. Okay, the first point here, well, this is what we already know, right? We know full well that Ratcliffe is aiming for that 25% stake to assume. Now, they've written here effective control over sporting decisions from managerial appointments to player signings. And that's, I don't know whether that's a change in rhetoric or wording, but I swear it was full control before. And that's where, of course, the fears have been from a lot of United fans around Jim Ratcliffe's actual ability to have full sporting control. And that's where this next point has concerned a lot of people. I'll run through this and I'll explain this, all right? Under the proposed deal, Ratcliffe, Sir Dave Brailsford, Director of Sport at Ineos, and Joel Glazer would sit on a committee overseeing football matters, according to 4 people familiar with the matter. United's commercial operations would remain under the Glazers' control, although Ratcliffe, as a large shareholder and board director, would command some influence. So the suggestion here from the Financial Times is that Manchester United's maybe footballing top-level board structure could look something like that, with Jim Ratcliffe and Dave Brailsford and Joel Glazer. Now, the one thing I've got to say here, right, there is only surely one reason why Joel Glazer would get his dirty mitts anyway, that the ego must be like hard to comprehend, because all he's done is oversee back, and he won't be told about a bad decision that he's made. Now, the reason that's being labelled there as effective control is you're good at maths. There's three people on that board. 1, 2, 3. Ratcliffe and Brailsford is the majority, if that's what the structure is. Now, you're going to have concerns over power of veto, which we don't know yet, okay? But the absolute assumption surely should be, if Ratcliffe is going ahead with his 25% control and is wanting that effective sporting control, Joel Glazer is not going to have a veto on that board. It would, by the looks of it, it would kind of sound like they would, but Ratcliffe would have a position on the commercial side of things that's more token than anything, because he's not going to be able to influence anything on the commercial side. And you would absolutely hope that Joel Glazer's position there is nothing more than token. But that is understandably going to get a lot of United fans concerned. Now, you realise I've written like CEO, sporting director, sporting staff under there. It's because I'm looking towards Nice as the overall structure and think, well, you would imagine that, I know there's been a lot of problems at Nice, but they are in the strongest position. I've explained that, and the changes that they've done, and how now, 5 years into the Ineos ownership, it's the strongest that they have been on and off the pitch as a football club. And this is their structure. They've got a chairman, they've got a CEO and a sporting director working at the top level. Of course, they've got the top coach. Don't know what a director of performance is. Anyway, then you've got the academy director, and then underneath them, you've got a whole load of different people working in different roles. And I've explained all of this in a separate video. So my presumption is that that sort of thing would exist underneath, but it's more towards that top-level voting. Now, people are going to be concerned about Class A shares and Class B shares. If I'm correct, I don't think the Class B shares are anything to do with board votes. I think it's to do with shareholder votes. So if it ever got to a shareholder conversation, that's where the Glazers would always maintain the power over anybody who bought shares from the New York Stock Exchange. But at board level, I think it's just a majority. Everyone's got one vote, unless power of vetoes exists. And we don't know whether they do or don't here. But that's going to be concerning a lot of people. And this might concern people too here. Dave Brailsford is set to have the most involvement in the day-to-day oversight of United's sporting operations, according to people with knowledge of Ratcliffe's plans. Now, that shouldn't come as too much of a surprise, given I think Dave Brailsford's been, he's kind of been the overseer at Ineos over his last 2-3 years. And as I said, I'll be totally honest, the changes that have happened in the last 12 months, Nice is in its strongest position. However, people are going to be looking towards Dave Brailsford and what's happened at Ineos Grenadiers, former Team Sky, and say, well, not sure about that. They're going to look at Ratcliffe's ownership of Lausanne and overall of Nice and go, is Dave Brailsford the right man for that position? It shouldn't come as too much of a surprise that Ratcliffe's not going to be the central figure. There's going to be a lot of people annoyed about that. But go over here, look, Ratcliffe is not expected to be a constant presence at United. And they cite a little story there about one point during the negotiations. It was on a 1-month-long expedition in the Mongolian steppe. Hey, look, man, if I was a billionaire, I'd be doing exactly that. Football. Name me an owner of a football club in England these days that's directly involved on a day-to-day basis on the level of Manchester United. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. They're surely far and few between. But Dave Brailsford, I think what I'm going to have to do is a deep dive into Dave Brailsford as the next port of call, because we can speak about Paul Mitchell and all that, but Dave Brailsford, if he's going to be the head man, basically sitting there and having more the day-to-day conversation with Joel Glazer, and why is Joel Glazer anywhere near that footballing structure? Is the main question that all of you are going to ask. And why would he be involved in that when he's just got everything so totally wrong? There must be an ego thing in here, man. There must be a huge, huge ego thing that Ratcliffe's had to sort of massage to get his way in the front door. Now, Ratcliffe, like Toto Wolff, works with Ratcliffe, of course, at Mercedes AMG, and this is what he said about him as a decision maker and how he works with him. Ratcliffe was a sparring partner, but one who would put every resource behind the team to achieve. Cut out all the bullshit, simplify it, and go for it. That's something I value in a business partner. We both absolutely hate bureaucracy, jeez, and administration. Decisions have to be taken. Well, good luck, Ratcliffe. Have you seen how convoluted Manchester United's structure has been, which is exactly why that there will raise red flags. Even if, as I said, simple maths, Ratcliffe and Brailsford would have effective control. What's written there about Jim Ratcliffe enjoying not quick decisions, but effective decisions, hates bureaucracy. I can't say that word. Bureaucracy. Figure it out. Yeah, then good luck coming to Manchester United and giving even Joel Glazer a token position on a footballing side of things. You're just making things more complicated for yourselves. Now, the next point, and this is a very important point for a lot of people, of course, is the investment. And this here is an interesting point from the Financial Times. Should the deal go ahead, United has also discussed raising fresh funds to plough into the club, according to two people familiar with the matter. Selling additional stock in New York-listed United could allow Ratcliffe to increase his stake while injecting funds into the club, the people said. Details have yet to be agreed and a fundraising may not happen. So the conversation there and the suggestion is that past his 25% from Jim Ratcliffe, there's a possibility that United might then create more shares, float them on the New York Stock Exchange, sell them, maybe Ratcliffe could buy them, increase his overall stake above 25%, and that would be the next bit of investment on top of anything from this 1.3 billion who's going to go towards the club, which we don't know that yet. So I'm not saying that this Financial Times article gives us all the answers. It does not. But it certainly raises the big question and concern about Joel Glazer having a position on the footballing side of things. That's a little bit of a switch from full sporting control to effective sporting control, because as you can see there, the majority, that would still give Ineos control. But why would Joel Glazer get involved in that side of things? Because surely it was like the perfect situation for them. They found someone silly enough to give them a ridiculous overpay, and then if they just the Glazers just stood back and it was successful, then the 75% that they own is going to go up in value. And if it went wrong, then they can go, well, it wasn't us that did it. It was actually Ineos. It was Ratcliffe and Brailsford. And now something, I don't get it. I do not understand. I mean, I do understand it's the Glazers. I'll be honest, I'm concerned about that. They have to be. You have to be. Even if I know that there is effective control there, you're just muddying the waters. You just if you're going to have a somehow a split, and that's actually something that I think it's Chris Bascom? Right, who's written a book. Now, Chris Blackhurst here. Because he's saying this. He's saying it's naive to think that you can separate the sporting side from the commercial side. Because, of course, there's going to be crossover between certain things like budgets, for example. It might be a commercially chosen limit, but it directly impacts the sporting side. And maybe there is no way to split the sporting and the commercial. And if that is the case, then there are red flags. You let me know what you think in the comments below. Of course, this is constantly developing. There may be more information tomorrow. And if there is, and I think it's worthwhile, I'll bring it to you. But let me know what you think about that. I think I already know.